recording. Excellent. Okay. So thank you for joining us for the Fireside Chat on Global Medtech Innovation. I'm Michelle Wu, the CEO and co-founder of Nyquist Data. Today, we have Diana Hong and Eric joining us. Diana Hong is the founder and president of MidLink Biomedical Group, which is a leading CRO contract research organization in China. They provide professional service to the healthcare industry throughout the total product life cycle. She has extensive knowledge and experience in business development, regulatory strategy, and development of medical device and pharma products. And Eric Steen is a former CEO of a public durable medical equipment provider, InfuSystem, Chief of Sales and Marketing for Braun North America, and the President of Central Admixture Pharmacy Services. So let's get started. Diana, given your rich leadership experience, what motivated you to join the medtech industry? What advice will you have for female leaders and the entrepreneurs?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for Michelle's introduction. And it's my pleasure to have this conversation with Michelle and Eric. And talking about your question, it's a very interesting beginning. Actually, I showed great interest in chemistry since I was in grade 7. And I made my decision to study chemistry when I applied for university. And due to my great interest in chemistry, I completed all the related chemistry courses in the university. And then I changed to biochemical engineering. So I started from the chemistry and to the engineering. And to learn all the related chemistry courses, which means I learned material, chemical synthesis, nanochemistry, microbiology, fermentation, engineering, and yeah, that's a very interesting university. I even learned the courses of networking and electricity, although my major is in chemistry. And I learned so many different courses. And when I learned these courses, I just think it must be just a course because it's really hard to find a job to apply all this knowledge into just one single job. At the very first beginning, I joined MedTech was just because it was a job. Everybody needs a job after the university. But while I entered the industry, I suddenly found that all the knowledge I got in the university were so useful in this job. I think MedTech is a very fantastic industry and could be the only industry that no matter what your major you were studied in, it could be applied in the industry. I am a person that was always exhausted for new knowledge. So you could imagine that there is no other industry would be more attractive for me. This is the only industry, I think. You should keep on learning. Not only one direction, you should know a lot of different knowledge. Chemistry, material, electricity, mechanical, and all the scientific side that you could imagine could apply to this industry. So very funny, always be attractive. You should keep on learning. So I was so happy that I realized it at the very, very first beginning of my career. And talking about as a female leader, although I always can't remember the difference between a female and a male when I am in working. So no matter the sector, I think as a female leader, we should always working hard. And I would suggest that very firstly, as a female leader in the medtech industry, we should try to do not thinking about the sector difference, just working hard and gain the respect from the team and the clients. Because when they treat you as a leader or they are chosen a supplier, most of the never think about whether you're a female leader or male leader. They choose the best one to work with. So it's very important that just forget you're female or male, or, yeah, the gender question. And never blame the failure to the sexual. That's very important because I heard about some complaints that they didn't choose me as a supplier because I don't think we're not strong enough as a male team. I think dig more into your inside problems. Just do not blame the failure to what gender you are. And the second is do not abandon your female gender. And as a woman, I think we got many nature advantages. As more sensitive to others, change, pay more attention to the details, use those advantages properly to enhance the management of the team and find the real needs of our clients. That's my advice. And there's a last one. It's not a must, but a plus that I think it's really benefit my career. Find a partner who could support your decision, especially while you are very busy and the person could share your pressure and contribute more to the family life. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Diana. That's an excellent answer. So we learned that we should always learn a lot of things and apply the things in the medtech industry, working hard, leverage the gender, but do not make a fuss about it. And now let's switch gear to Eric. Eric, like you have a lot of success in the medtech field, and you are also a leader promoting like equality and diversity and inclusion. I'm very curious, like how did you get into the medtech industry?
Well, thank you for having me with you tonight. And I loved your answer about gender, and I'll share that with my daughters about don't make a big deal about your gender, but don't forget you're female. I think that's wonderful advice. And I
Thank you.
My entering into medtech, my parents, my father was trained as an engineer and found his way into global sales. My mom was a nurse, went back to school and became a bacteriologist. And I think when I graduated from university and needed a job, like everybody does, I thought for healthcare, it had a double benefit of putting your professional energies into helping people return to a healthy life. And then practically, I thought it would be maybe a little more recession proof than the job offer I got from automotive or computers. I maybe would have been wealthier if I chose the computer job, but the wealth I have in memories of working with colleagues about, helping people get a better life. And I used to tell my sales force a lot of times with devices, you're making things safer. And I would say, well, you're missionaries of safety. And if that doesn't motivate you to get out of bed and go talk to people about these wonderful new innovations, I don't know what will. And I think I had the benefit of starting at the low level as a sales representative and working my way up to CEO. So I know what it's like to be on the midnight shift with a nurse from a rental registry, and you're doing an in-service and demonstration and a trial, and the red lights are beeping, and you've got to make things easy and safe for people to use through all hours. So that's part of my story of how I got into medtech and how I've enjoyed over 40 years in healthcare now in the U.S. medical industry.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you so much, Eric. That's such a lovely family story and your personal story. You're such an inspiration. And Diana, MidLink was established in 2005. Since then, how many innovative companies have you worked with? And what kind of technical advantages does your firm have so that it can successfully serve those innovative companies to enter the US market and overseas market? What are the future development strategy and core business of your company? And how do you envision offering more valuable support for medtech industry?
Okay, so we are talking about innovative medtech companies. It's not a big number, it's just more than 50. As we all know that in the past few decades, most of the medtech, sorry, I got a phone call, so I want to just restart, sorry. We are talking about the innovative company, so it's not a big number, just more than 50 innovative medtech enterprises. As we all know that in the past few decades, most of the medical device companies in China was learning from the US and overseas companies. So their learning is not a real innovation, it's just learning from others. And the real innovation by those companies in China just began recently. But we could see the number has been increasing tremendously. However, it's still hard for the Chinese medtech companies, no matter it's innovative or just a me too product. It still be hard for them to go overseas market. Besides the patent issues, the regulatory difference in the quality system, or is difference in the language is difference and the culture is different. So there's many things to make it hard for the Chinese medtech companies to go overseas. And so in this process to helping all those companies to go overseas, we do a lot of overseas job. We do a lot of. And one of our goals is to have various organizations to make strategy and transfer their concept or design of innovative device to finished product. And we got a platform which including a testing laboratory, which including a consulting team, and they work very closely together. So we can make the concept to the final project from our platform very easily. And of course, it's not just a platform to achieve this. We have extensive experience of regulatory knowledge to help the client draw the market accessing strategy, to establish V&V protocol. And we also have highly accredited competence of testing. So if they send a sample to our laboratory and we can do one test to covering all the requirements of all over the world. So it's quite time saving and cost saving. And our testing laboratory are recognized by major countries across the world. And to implement the V&V verification and validation. So it's very important for those innovative companies. And another thing that's very hard for the innovative company, because the product very innovative. We know that the very innovative regulatory and the product testing standard are always behind the development of the product. So another very important thing for us is to help them to develop a testing protocol could be recognized by the authorities. So it's very hard without any regulatory, without any settled standard. So that's what we think that is our core competitors. And we also have product specific and manufacturing related knowledge, which could be of help during the product realization project. So I think that's the reason that we can have so many medtech companies to put their innovative product into the US and the China market. And another reason that we can help them is we know both how those people in China and how those people in the US, what they're thinking about and what's the culture. Because even the same words, as if we're all talking about English, but the understanding of the same sentence could be different in China and in US. So it's very important to know how they are working and what the culture and what they are used to and what's the meaning behind the sentence, behind those words. So it's very important. So that's another important sign that we can give to our clients. And in the future, the very important business of Medlink is, of course, to do the testing and to do the verification and validation of the medtech products, and also the consulting business to help those medtech companies to understanding more better of the regulatory, the standards and the post-market requirement for those products. And another thing we will do in the very near future is to establish our clinical laboratory service to provide more professional services to the AVD product. We also build our CDMO factory to help those very innovative researchers to make their ideas, their concept into a real final product through our platform. Thank you.
Wow, that's really a lot of market potential. Congratulations, Diana. And Eric, as a leader in the medtech industry, especially in North America, seems like there are so many companies in China and around the world want to enter US market. Can you please share with us what do you see as the major trends for the US market?
Well, one trend I see is certainly the pandemic has made us remember there's no place like home, there's no care like home care. And that was already a trend in the U.S. market. More types of treatments or readings in home, just like we're having a call today, all in different places where you can see each other and you can see the patient. I think my experience in the device business, we used to call, the acute care market was the hospitals, and the home and everywhere else we called the alternate sites of care. And some people would say, well, the hospital should be the alternate site of care because there's no place like home recovering with family if you can have that support. I saw an interesting company the other day that had a new product for blood collection for COVID tests at home. It makes a lot of sense. If you send to groups of people who might be exposed together and concentrate, it's better to do things in home when you can. The other thing, especially in the acute care marketplace, is the Internet of Things. Our connected world of equipment. And in the U.S. acute care market, that means integrating with the big electronic medical record companies like Epic and Cerner, and somehow being able to integrate with them. Because when you go to the sophisticated, the leading places today, all the equipment is talking to the EMR through bidirectional wireless, receiving signals, how to run for that patient, and sending signals back based on what that piece of equipment is doing and what they're reading. The Internet of Things and the integration of medical devices with the electronic medical record in the home market, using 2G and 5G to send packets of data information to and from pieces of equipment in the home or telephone lines. I think we'll continue to see connectivity and being able to integrate and be part of the systems of devices that are all working together. And then I think another thing that I would mention is there's so much standardization and commoditization of care, but one important trend in the US market that I see is precision medicine. And it's recognizing the many individual differences in a country as diverse as the United States, and what are the geographical culture differences, even DNA. My last business was pharmacogenomics, and people metabolize pharmaceuticals differently based on their DNA, and we can look at someone's DNA and see what disease states might they experience, and that will lead to more data analytics to be able to treat people in different care paths based on their situation. Can they be at home? Do they accept this treatment? Does their culture accept this treatment? Is this treatment available? So I think we'll see more individualization and precision medicine, especially for certain groups of people. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. That's a lot of opportunities. Yeah, I definitely see like the Internet of Things. 4G, 5G, and connectivity, precision medicine, and all that play into the future of medtech. So a lot of opportunities for and exciting trends for the US market. And Diana, we have seen a lot of Chinese companies are entering the US market. On the other hand, US companies are entering Chinese market too. Can you share with us what are the key trends you see for the US and Chinese market? What are the difficulties for overseas medtech companies to enter the Chinese market, especially getting approval from the Chinese FDA, which is NMPA? Thank you.
Wow, yeah. So there's many innovative medical devices in China and in US, and yeah, they want to enter the both the market, and of course China has a very, very large market, and all the innovative devices want to enter this fantastic market. So, and both countries, China and the US, have established regulations to encourage innovation of medical devices with certain specific regulatory pathway. And in China, we call it Green China, and in American, we call it accelerated pathway. And the authorities, both authorities, will provide early interaction with the manufacturing of the applier, so that the firm could have opportunities to know them in advance and adjust them during preparation of submission. And furthermore, those submissions in Green China will have review priority and access to the market earlier. So in this point, so both countries have very similar regulatory in this side, and actually, since the U.S. FDA established an office in China, they do a lot of job. They did a lot of job to communicate with NMPA to try to make the regulatory requirement in both US FDA and NMPA more similar. So it's very successful actually. So we could say the regulatory in both countries are very, very similar now. And therefore, the number of innovation medical devices increased in recent years. And for overseas medical devices to enter China, I think there is many difficulties. Firstly, also the very difference in US FDA and the China NMPA is that the US FDA encourage those innovative medical devices to entering US market firstly. Is also the goal of the US FDA. And in China, the China NMPA require a device from the overseas market should get the certificate or registered in the origin country firstly, then they could apply in NMPA. So this for the timeline, it will be a big difference. So the overseas device want to enter in China market, they should have this strategy very differently from if they want to go to the US market. And another difficulty is to understand Chinese regulations. There are many regulations, the words, it looks very similar to the US one, but behind those words, the understanding of the both authority is really big gap between them. So address the difference even the difference of the standards is also in some devices are huge, especially for those, for example, the most innovative product is robot for the surgery procedure. And the testing standards are very different in China and in US. So they should address those difference of standard between China and the US properly. And also the clinical side, because for most of the innovative products, they should provide clinical evidence. And those evidence should meet the Chinese requirement. And for many innovative products, and they should do some clinical trial in China. And then they got another problem that they need to get approval from genetic office. It's very hard for the overseas product. So that's another thing they need to carefully consider and to carefully to communicate with the China government. And I think another difficulty is communication. And so we talking about earlier that even the same words, they got the different understanding between the Chinese and the Americans. So we believe it's better to have a person with well knowledge of regulation and standard in both countries. So it will be more easily to communicate with both sides. We really found that sometimes they just hire a translator. And the translator do not understand the regulation or standards very well. So when they communicate with both sides, there's many key information will be lost in the translation. It's very important to have the right person to do the right things and to present in the firm to communicate with the authority. So I think that's all the things that should be taken care of while to go to the US market and to go to the US market. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. That's great insight. Understanding of both market and especially like country specific, industry specific, and domain specific expertise are very hard to get. And as you mentioned, communications is a key success factor. Let me ping Eric. Yeah, okay, he's joining. Apologies, like even we are in Silicon Valley, the internet cannot like be guaranteed sometimes. Yeah, we need the 5G.
Sorry.
No worries. Let me mark the time.
Oh yeah, here.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. That's great insight. Thank you so much, Diana. As we all understand and agree that industry expertise, domain expertise, and country-specific expertise are all very critical for the success of product launch and also commercial success. And the communication is also the key. And back to Eric, given your huge and amazing track record of commercial success, what advice would you give to medtech companies to enter the US market? And how do you advise them to thrive in the US market?
Well, I would say look for partnerships. I thought Diana was making an interesting comment about communication and language. And when two of my previous employers were big global companies, and we had organizations everywhere. And sometimes in the US, when we think we were going to work with another English speaker, like Australia or South Africa or Ireland, we'd think, well, this is going to be easy because we're all speaking English. And there'd still be miscommunication. And we used to say, well, we have the disadvantage of a common language. When we're talking to someone from China, we think, oh, we're going to misunderstand each other, so we have to be so careful. But communication is key. And I think there's so many complexities to the US market. There's reimbursement. And with all the different things, is your device going to be reimbursed? There's all special channels. And then let alone the complexity of the FDA information, all in PDFs. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about how new technologies like Nyquist data, machine learning is able to let people find the data, analyze the data, mine the data to be able to be successful. But I think the number one advice I would say is, because of the complexities and because it's an open market, but it's a different market, look for partners and look for collaboration. And I think look for win-win. I think in export and trade, there's always sometimes difficulties. And I think back sometimes when I look at today's world in the medical device business, it reminds me of when I was younger and you would go to Detroit and the local people would say, do not rent a Japanese or German car at the Detroit airport and go call on the hospitals in Detroit because you're taking food right off their table. And I think that's, what does anybody want in the US or China? They want a good job to put food on the table. And I think if you look at collaboration, and there's so many different things to do, can you find partners that understand the reimbursement, the group purchasing organization, the distribution channels, the FDA approval process? What is the quickest way to get, Diana mentioned accelerated approval. What are the best ways to do that? I would think look for win-win collaboration and create jobs for your partners. I think it goes further. Look what the automobile companies did. I think a lot of innovative Chinese device companies might be able to do the same thing and save a lot of lives and improve lives in all countries.
Wow, that's really beautiful. Thank you so much, Eric. And definitely, I could create collaboration, find win-win, find synergy, and also leverage AI like Nyquist data to develop the global strategy. And AI-driven strategy will definitely benefit the clients around the world. And back to you, Diana, as a key client for Nyquist data, from your perspective, how can Nyquist data help Chinese customers?
Yeah, and firstly, I think Eric mentioned about collaboration and the leveraging is really important while entering a new market. So Nyquist data has done an excellent job in this area. The current database covers major markets like China, US in both regulatory affairs and clinical studies. All those data are very important for those innovative firms and CRO companies like Medlink. And I think another important thing for Nyquist data, you are not only making the searching of information easier, but also the result are very organized. It's not just the research and the present from the original database. You do a lot of analysis and make those data more meaningful to the user. So this is very, very important side for those innovative firms and serial companies that use the NetQuest data to obtain information we want, and that can lower the requirement to the user knowledge. They don't need to be very familiar to the database. They don't have to be very familiar to the clinical data and even the keywords. When you research the clinic studies, you will give a lot of suggestions and make the job easier. And so use them during the development of the device using NetQuest data. I think that could be a great tool to save the time and save the cost of every side. So it's very good tools for the innovative firms and serial company to use NetQuest data. And I hope that you could include more markets data in your database. So that will be great.
Definitely. I'm sure I'll make sure that our engineers get the feedback from the customers, and more markets such as the European market and other markets are definitely on our roadmap, product development roadmap and pipeline. So, all right. Thank you all. This has been a great discussion. We learned about the wisdoms from great leaders in the medtech space, and also opportunities and potential for global innovation. Very happy to see the passion from both sides about the new opportunities for new technology and the new trends in global innovation for the medtech industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.